to the thief that you're going to catch them. That's just the way.
Does that suggest a bit of intimidation on NAFDAC?
No, not intimidation. It is a covert action, and there's no way I could disclose where we go. But when you look at our porous borders, those are crime spots.
You're saying that you're deploying surveillance, but you cannot name it, and it's a covert operation. Suggests that you have a clear profiling of the suspects. And what can you say about them? Because the public believe that they have enough war chests and they are connected and they have permeated the rank and file of government to have enough resources to muster, to fight back NAFDAC's war against counterfeit and fake drugs.
We know some of the crime spots, not all the crime spots. The ones that we know are the ones that were being watched or that we are watching. They may have a lot of money to fight NAFDAC or the government or connections. However, we just have to do our work of investigation and enforcement and surveillance.
How far are you ready to go in this war against fake drugs? Because people believe it's a deadly mission. Are you ready to go headlong? Are you ready to face it all through?
Actually, it's not a sprint, it is a marathon. Because there are so many factors that are feeding into the influx of illicit drugs into our country. And we will continue to do our work as a regulatory agency, and we're going to win the war. Nigeria is going to win the war against
Do you
drugs.
have the resources? Do you have enough mandates to make a difference to finally nip this menace in the bud?
You see, we have enough mandate, and it's not just NAFDAC. The NDLEA is also with us on this fight against drugs, against illicit drugs. And I want to separate fake and substandard drugs from illicit drugs. In terms of fake and substandard drugs, yes, we're going to win the war. Because as we speak, I'm working with the different counterparts in Southeast Asia, where most of these drugs are coming from, and discussing with them to be on the lookout, because NAFDAC is a regulatory agency joined at the hips with other regulatory agencies of the world. So we are, for the fake and substandard, yes, we will reduce it to almost eliminate. I will not say completely eliminate. But illicit drugs is a marathon fight, but we continue to do as much as we can. For example, we destroyed about 1.7 billion naira worth of tramadol about 4 or 5 months ago, and it's ongoing.
It seems you're fighting an asymmetric, complex warfare, considering a war being perceived that even some of the stakeholders may not be with you, because some pharmacists or some investors believe that tramadol and codeine do have medicinal value. So how do you intend to fight this war that is so interwoven with the medicinal aspects?
Actually, we are not fighting against the use of tramadol. We are fighting against the illicit use of tramadol. The medicinal or the medically prescribed strengths are 50 milligrams and 100 milligrams.
Well, you just said you destroyed over 1 billion naira, almost 2 billion naira worth of tramadol.
Yes.
Could that not have been converted for medicinal use?
The ones that we destroyed were 225 milligrams, 500 milligrams, that we destroyed the brain of anybody. The 10, the 50 and 100 milligrams, we don't touch. People are still being prescribed tramadol as we speak for pain. But 225 milligrams, 500 milligrams, that is 10 times the medically prescribed strength.
But when you have this large volume of illicit and fake drugs coming into the country, it kind of suggests that the gatekeepers have either compromised or have gone to sleep.
Yes.
And why shouldn't we be holding NAFDAC responsible?
Because NAFDAC was not at the ports for 7 years. NAFDAC was removed from the port for 7 years. And these illicit drugs have been flowing into the country. You watch the documentary. Even at that point, or April 30th.
Was that the wake-up call?
It wasn't the wake-up call. I've gone since I resumed November 30th, and I was in Kebbi, February. I was in Yobe, February. I was at the National Security Advisors Office conference in March, before NAFDAC was returned to the port, preaching, talking about the dangers of drugs on our youth, on the nation. It is a future destroyer of children, and that is what we are preaching against. For example, NAFDAC is launching a nationwide community efforts, going to secondary schools, using young pharmacists. So we are fighting this on every front, or from every front. So it is something that we are going to be working with, or working for every day. So it's not a war that is lost. No, we cannot lose it, because we cannot afford for our children to become zombies. The amount of containers of tramadol that are coming into the country didn't start overnight. It has been for years and for years. The outcomes of this long or whatever removal of NAFDAC from the ports, and the continued encouragement of shipment into the country, we saw the outcomes in that documentary.